Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
You go into your shower feeling, but as soon as you reach for the Irish Spring, your day immediately gets better. That crisp, fresh, unmistakable Irish Spring scent zings your brain and awakens your senses. So when you finally emerge from the shower, 37 minutes later, because you pay the water bill so you can stay in there as long as you want, you're ready to take on the day and smell great doing it. Irish Spring Body Wash and Bar Soap. Fresh, green, Irish. Shop now at Walmart.
It's time for a Big Blue Kickoff Live.
Nobody can ever tell you that you couldn't do it, because you did.
On Giants.com.
You know what I saw? New York Giant pride.
And the Giants mobile app.
17-14 is the final. One touchdown, we are world champions. Believe it, and it will happen.
Part of the Giants Podcast Network.
Let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs and have some fun.
Welcome into a Wednesday edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. Thanks for being with us. I'm Madelyn Burke alongside Paul Dottino. You can find us on social media at Madelyn Burke, at GiantsWFAN. Phone number here, 201-939-4513, or find us at hashtag GiantsChat. As a reminder, you can find the archive of this show and our entire podcast network on the Giants mobile app, podcast platforms everywhere, and Giants.com/podcast. Paul, I can't believe it. It's Wednesday. It's only been 3 days since the Giants got their first win of the season. And we have just one more sleep until another Giants football game back at MetLife.
Who's going to sleep tonight?
Not Paul Dottino.
Come on. I mean, really? The short week is a challenge, obviously, for the coaches and for the players. But, I know for fans, it's also kind of weird, too, because we're all used to the regular schedule of every weekend is going to be a game.
Right.
And now all of a sudden you got to alter your tailgate plans, right? You can't come here on Sunday at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. now. You got to worry about fighting some of that rush hour traffic if you're going to get to MetLife Stadium at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in anticipation of the game. Everybody's got to adjust their schedule. This is just the way it works on these Thursday night games.
Yeah, that's just the way it works, and I feel like people are going to adjust accordingly. Looking at the weather forecast, it's supposed to be a little bit of rain, potentially in the earlier part of the day, but by game time, clear skies in the forecast. These things can change. I'm no meteorologist. I just look at my iPhone. But, when you look at the way that this game's playing out, at the beginning of the season or before the season, when you're looking at the Giants' schedule and you see Week 4 Dallas Cowboys on Thursday Night Football, that seemed a bit of an intimidating matchup right there. It's a division game, a primetime game against a team that last season, put on almost 90 points on this Giants team. The way the Cowboys are looking this season, coming off of 2 consecutive home losses, coming in both teams at 1-2, it feels very different, this matchup, than it felt when we looked at it on paper in the beginning of the season.
It feels very different from even a week ago.
Yeah.
When the Giants were winless and then had to go to Cleveland and knock off Myles Garrett and company.
Right.
Right now, the Giants are in a position where they can really inject a huge dose of adrenaline into their season by knocking off a team that's beaten them in 13 of the last 14 meetings going back to 2017. In fact, they haven't beaten Dak Prescott since he was a rookie in 2016, because that one win that I just talked about, that was when Andy Dalton was playing quarterback because Prescott had been injured, as we all remember. I mean, that's the kind of mastery that this Cowboys team has had on the Giants. But then again, the Giants had a mastery over the Washington football team, and how'd that work out a couple of weeks ago?
Right.
So history is history. It doesn't have anything to do with the present, as Dexter Lawrence said. That's in the past, and I don't even think about what happened last year unless you guys bring it up to me.
Yeah.
Well, he's a pretty intimidating guy himself. I don't know if you really want to bring that up to him. But the bottom line for the Giants is that if they can get to 2-2, to the 500 mark, and get back to sea level after 4 games, look, I think most of us thought all along, you got to beat Minnesota and Washington, the 2 middleweights on your schedule, get to the 2-0 start. Then the schedule gets kind of rough, but at least you'll have the 2 wins in your pocket. Well, guess what? It didn't work out that way. So now they got to make up those 2 wins. They made up one in Cleveland. Now they got to make one up against Dallas.
Well, and also looking at the schedule and saying the schedule gets rough, these teams on paper are not the same teams. I mean,
No.
You look at the Cincinnati Bengals, which you were thinking, oh, wow, that's a team that's going to be tough to beat. And they're struggling to start the season. They're one of 3 0-3 teams to start the season. You look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, and while they are stacking wins, they're doing it in an interesting way. They've only scored 3 touchdowns through the first 3 weeks of the season, and they are 3-0. So these teams, as much as the resume and the lore around them is there, every game is a winnable game in the National Football League. Otherwise, you're not going out and playing the game. And you look at this Cowboys matchup on Thursday Night Football, and Paul, we talked about the weather a little bit, but just the way that these 2 teams match up is going to be interesting. Dallas is a pass-happy team. Dak Prescott, of course, leading the league in passing yards right now. They get the ball downfield. Despite the tensions you saw between Dak and CeeDee on the sidelines, they got a connection going there last Sunday against Baltimore. Their run defense is not as strong as they would perhaps
Actually, it's
like.
horrific.
I was trying to be kind.
No need to be kind.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about Dallas. You
Yeah.
can just be brutally honest.
Brutally honest. They gave up almost 300 yards rushing. I mean, granted, Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry were the guys running the ball, but still, the fact that offenses are able to cut through that run defense. My curiosity with this matchup, it goes to the health of the Giants and the availability of players. And Dots, you and I were talking about this before we started the show. Questions around Adoree Jackson, Drew Phillips, who both left the game on Sunday in Cleveland with calf injuries.
Yeah.
Haven't yet practiced this week. It's a short week. Is Dable saying, okay, let's keep them fresh, and if they're good to go for the game or what? And then Nick McLeod, who, has been out with injury as well.
Yeah, talked to Nick all week, and he's optimistic, but he was feeling pretty good last week, too, when he was not activated for the game. So I don't necessarily know what that means. What we do know is that Cordell Flott is certainly capable of filling in for one of those spots,
right?
Whether it's the slot or on the border. That's okay. I'm fine with you guys know how I feel about Cordell Flott. But now as you go deeper, well, you're looking at probably Trey Hawkins, I would think. And Hawkins is a boundary guy. He is not a slot guy. So I think if the Giants don't have the 3 guys that you mentioned available, you're looking at Hawkins opposite Banks with Flott in the slot as your 3 primary corners in the game.
Yeah, and going up against the passing attack, like I said, Dak Prescott through 3 weeks is leading the league. And a lot of that, too, is because they've been playing from behind and having to get the ball downfield. Game flow. And so getting control, scoring early, taking control of the offense. We saw, Devin Singletary has had a touchdown in each of the last 2 games for these Giants, getting in the end zone, running the ball, committing to the run. The Giants haven't been a run-heavy team. I think it's fair to characterize this offense as more balanced. Would that be fair?
Yeah, sure.
And so do you think that Brian Dable shifts the script a little bit and leans more on the run, or do you think they do what's working for them this week?
No, I think you'd want to lean on the run. You'd want to play power football. John Runyon talked about this before the Cleveland game on how the Giants want their identity to be built on the run game because the offensive line would like to lead the way in that capacity. They ran the ball okay last week. I mean, the totals were a little deceiving because Singletary had the 40-plus yarder at the end of the game. But they did have some balance in there, and they did have some occasional runs during the game that were helpful in getting them downfield. For me, if you look at this team, the Cowboys that is, there is no question. They are pass-heavy. They don't have much of a running game. Their offensive line has been retooled, and it's not nearly what it has been for the past decade or so. So Prescott, you want him to feel like they're one-dimensional. Just say, hey, look, you can't run it anyway. We're taking it away from you. You're just going to have to drop back a bunch of times. What do you have, 51 throws the other day against Baltimore?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay? He's been sacked 3 times in each of the first 3 games. They are hitting him. In fact, I think he's taken 25 quarterback hits in 3 games. Okay? So the Giants' pass rush, which came to life big time last weekend against Cleveland, they need to turn up the juice and make sure they make Prescott's life miserable. Make him one-dimensional and then get after him and batter him senseless. And if they can do that, Well, that makes things a whole lot easier for the offense. And I think if you're them, you want to methodically pound the ball because the Cowboys' run defense to both edges and directly up the middle has just been non-existent. Okay? Pound them, but also because that allows you to control the clock and the game flow. And listen, why not just keep the ball out of Prescott's hands anyway? Even though you think defensively you've got a way to limit him and make him a one-armed, quarterback because you'll take away his running game. Even with that, they can still make big plays. We saw what they did in the fourth quarter against the Ravens.
Exactly.
They can still make big plays. So take that away by controlling the ball and controlling the game. Just run it until they stop you.
Right. And you mentioned, I like that you mentioned that the Giants' pass rush really came to life. One thing that I thought was interesting is Shane Bowen's defense is not a blitz-heavy defense, right? And we've talked about that a lot. We've talked about how, it's aggressive in play execution, but not necessarily play calling. This week, though, in Cleveland, Bowen sent them and at such a high clip. And I mean, even the Browns coaching staff admitted that they were not expecting to see that kind of pressure. I respect the kind of change up there and Bowen saying, oh, this is who you think I am?
None of us were expecting it. Come on now.
Right? Exactly.
None of us. He hasn't shown that. I mean, with the Titans the last 2 years, he's one of the least blitz-happy DCs in the league.
But the ability to adjust to the strengths of your personnel,
was great.
right? I mean, the Giants had been struggling a bit in the run defense. They were doing well in the red zone. And he's like, okay, let's see what this team can do well, and let me adjust my scheme instead of forcing them into it.
He saw a suspect Cleveland offensive line.
That too.
That was beaten up on the tackles, on the edges, and decided that, hey, you know what? We're going to play some games with them.
Yeah.
And let's see what we can do and be more proactive and change what we're going to do before they even think about it. And it just totally confused them. Watson looked like a Rubik's Cube back there in the pocket. He had absolutely no idea what colors were where on the little box. It was great. Now, here's the thing. BB is the rookie center, and Guyton is the rookie left tackle. Guyton's already been he's been flagged 4 times this year, which is among the top 5 offensive linemen in the league in terms of drawn penalties against. Okay? This kid is having trouble at left tackle. Tyron Smith is now with the Jets, as you know.
Yep.
So this kid was thrown in there, fresh out of the box out of Oklahoma, and he may turn out to be really good over the next 10 years. But right now, he's as green as a piece of celery, and you got to take advantage of him. And BB, guard center, we know he was an interior lineman. They thrust him in there to be the starter. Biotish left via free agency. And you know what? You got to take advantage of him too. So you got those 2 young spring chickens on this offensive line. You need to do as much damage at those 2 spots on the line as you possibly can.
Giants fans are well familiar with what it means to have an offensive line that is struggling, and it's going to be an interesting situation to go up against another one this week when the Dallas Cowboys come to MetLife Stadium. Giants fans, make sure you go and subscribe to the Giants Huddle podcast. It features long-form interviews with Giants players, coaches, and front office staff past and present. Plus, hear from the best analysts covering Big Blue and the NFL. Search for Giants Huddle and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, or go to giants.com/podcast. And don't forget, if you are on Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star positive review for all of our Giants podcasts. 201-939-4513 is the phone number as we head to the phone lines. Line 1, Coach Marvin in Delaware is on the line. Coach, thanks for calling in. You're on Big Blue Kickoff Live with Paul and Madelyn.
How you doing, Madelyn?
Doing well. Thank you.
Paul, my man, how you doing?
I'm good, Coach. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going okay. I just got back from DR, so just getting back today.
Wait a minute. Wait. Did you miss the game Sunday?
I was looking at it online. I didn't see it, but at the end...
You're excused.
Well,
everyone needs a little bit of beach vacation. I hope you had a little, little umbrella drink.
I hate going on vacation during the season. But I did watch it, Giants.com. I put in Giants.com, and it kind of I saw a clip of 12 minutes of the game. So it was showing me all the good parts that were going on in the game. So I can get a feel how that game went. So I got a good understanding how it went. But Daniel, I was thinking about what I talked about last time I spoke to you, Paul, of what needs to be said to Daniel, and he's been doing it. He's letting it fly. Don't worry about anything what the outside is saying. I mean, you got people on the phone. Again, I question the pick with Daniel Jones, but he's who we got, and he's who we have to work with. And I said it before. When Daniel was picked 6 overall, the question with him and Duke was he didn't have any receivers. And that same thing I'm starting to feel. We did have trouble with the offensive line, but we still haven't had the receivers. And now we have one in Neighbors, and you can see the difference in his confidence with Neighbors. Throwing, giving him a chance to make a catch, even though the guy is there. So I'm proud of how he's doing that. We need another receiver to step forward. Slate, I think he needs to step more up. I don't know if he's a Daniel-type receiver because he doesn't separate enough. I think they need somebody either trade, but they need a big-time receiver because that's what Daniel Jones needs. He's not a quarterback that's going to carry the team on his shoulders. He's not. If people walking around think that's what he is, I'm sorry to tell them that's not what he is. He's a good quarterback. He's like a Brock Purdy. You take the weapons from Purdy, he's just an ordinary dude. But you give him some weapons, you see what San Francisco does with him. He's precise with what he does, and I think Daniel's in that same type of mode. You give him another receiver that can separate, because I don't know if Darius Slayton is the guy, but I'm hearing, Paul, you may know, I heard something about, it haven't been confirmed, that Hyatt is pissed and want to trade. But
No. That's already
no one
been
has confirmed that.
That story has already been refuted by both Brian Daboll and by Jalen Hyatt. And
Right.
Coach, I hate to stop you on this, but Darius Slayton happens to be Daniel Jones's favorite receiver and the guy he's most comfortable with.
They came into the league together.
And they've been very successful over the last several years, making many, many big plays. Now, I agree with you. He is not a headache player. He does not command double coverage, and he's not going to be an explosive 150-yard threat on any given Sunday. That's not what Slayton is. So on that part, I agree with you. And it's great to have someone like Neighbors who is that guy. I think Hyatt can also be that guy as he continues to mature. But please do not in any way undersell Darius Slayton. That would be a mistake.
No, I'm not underselling him to say he's garbage. I didn't say that. I'm saying he's not. You said, let's use the word you said, explosive. Daniel Jones is a quarterback that needs guys that can make yards after catch. Darius can get downfield. I'm not saying he can't be on the team,
right.
But I don't think he's playing up to par on his numbers, because numbers in some cases do lie, and in some cases it don't lie.
Well, he's not a big yak guy.
50-50.
You're absolutely right. He's never going to be a big yak guy.
Exactly, and that's what they need for him to be a successful quarterback, because he's not that type of receiver. Now, Hyatt, I'm not saying get rid of Hyatt. I thought that was the reason I brought that up, is because if I'm coaching, I talk to Hyatt about that. And I tell him, why you're not playing this much? Because you're not showing me enough to put you over Darius. So if you want to play over Darius, you got to get on the field, and if you're pissed and you're mad because you're not playing that much, then they're going to show me on the field, because I'm the one that counts, not your feelings if you should be playing. I'm the one you got to convince that you play, not your feelings. So if you want to take your feelings and take it and put it in a positive way, get on the field and show my thinking is wrong. Make a play. Get out there, run the routes the way I want them run, because some reason he's not getting a lot of play over Darius. So whatever that is, Hyatt needs to fix that, not the coach.
There's a lot of experience there that he's got to overcome, because Slayton's been doing this a long time, and he's been very successful at it. To my knowledge, and Madelyn, you can chime in here, I've never heard one word of frustration out of Jalen Hyatt. Never once.
No, and not even his body language, not even his energy. We see him around here in the locker room, in the cafeteria, in the hallways. I think that a lot of that is a bit speculative, and probably people putting themselves in his shoes and saying, "Oh, this is what I would feel like." But he's out here and he's working hard, and I mean, I don't even notice a shift in his demeanor.
The best part of football season? Checking out the post-game stats. Which wideout scored more than 2 touchdowns? Which QBs threw for less than 350 yards? Think you can pick who will do what before kickoff? Then play Pick 6 from DraftKings, an official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app, select between 2 and 6 players, and choose if they'll have more or less of a stat. It's that simple. And for all first-time Pick 6 players, check this out. New customers play $5 on your first pick set, get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Download the new DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code DK1. That's code DK1 for new customers to play $5 on your first pick set, get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. One per new customer. Non-withdrawable. Pick 6 credits. Expire in 6 months. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
You know, Coach, there's a lot of fiction that appears in print when a team is 0-2. You understand that.
Paul, yes, but you got to remember what I said in the beginning. It was a clipping I saw, and I said it has not been confirmed.
Right, I'm trying to help you, and we're trying to tell you.
Right,
Don't pay attention to it.
Like when something hasn't been confirmed, and then we're further unconfirming it.
I know.
So, yeah.
But that's not what I'm putting out. Again, I worked under the Federal Bureau. I understand how the networks work, and I understand when you hear something, you need it to be confirmed that it's true. I'm not saying it's true. I don't believe it, but I was getting to the point to say if that is true, if that's what his frustration is, then that's the way I would handle him if that was true. I'm not saying it's true. I don't want it to be like, I don't want to. You have a couple of other callers that can throw that stuff out. I'm not that type of caller. I only base it on facts, and I didn't have facts. That's why I said, Paul, maybe you would know, and you said no, that haven't been, and that's clear.
Coach, let me clarify something for you too. Let me clarify one other thing to you about Hyatt. Dable was asked about him the other day. You'll recall this.
Yeah.
And he said, "Look, right now, our top 3 receivers in a 3-wide set are going to be Slayton and Neighbors on the outside, and Wan'Dale Robinson's the slot. And I don't think anybody would argue with those choices, right?
Right.
And when they go to a 4th wide receiver set, Jalen Hyatt's the next guy up.
Yeah.
Now, they haven't used a lot of 4 wide receiver sets in the first 3 games of the season.
Right.
And the truth is, it probably was not going to be a good idea to do so because they were trying to deal with their upfront pass protection, keeping extra tight ends in, trying to make sure that they controlled the line of scrimmage, and also got some running game going. So you weren't going to use a ton of 4 wides.
It's like in the Olympics this summer, right? You look at USA basketball that won a gold medal, and you've got a team full of talented players, and people are why is Jason Tatum on the bench? Why is he not playing? This man just won a championship. This man just got a record-setting contract. Because you got so many people. You can only put so many people on the court at the same time. You can only put so many people on the field at the same time. And so it's not that.
I get a better reason he's a Celtic. He doesn't deserve to play.
Can't say that in front of producer Pearson.
I would like to see him get more rest because I saw that they put up the numbers. If you put the numbers, there's a big disparity between Slayton and Hyatt.
There is.
And using Tatum, that's a tough one because look at the people in front of him.
Right.
They don't have that on the Giants. That's a totally different picture. Look at the people that was who you're taking out, LeBron or Steph. I mean, I won't take that analogy there.
But also with respect to Hyatt, he is not yet an MVP caliber champion. You know, so it's apples to oranges in that situation. But it is in terms of a player saying, "I want to play more." Yes, of course, anybody wants to play, and you want that. Yeah.
I'm not saying he start. I'm saying he gets more playing time if he's that angry. As a coach, I got to test this guy because they all are different people.
No doubt.
They all
no
react
doubt.
different.
That's why Parcells was a master. He pushed buttons.
Right. He pushed that button. If he's angry, I'm gonna let him know.
Coach, we got to let you go, but I want to tell you this.
All right.
Tomorrow's game against Dallas, we talked about it earlier. The idea is to play some bully ball. And it's to muscle these guys and emphasize the run and force up front along the line of scrimmage, which means you probably won't see a ton of 4 wides in this game either.
There you go.
Just giving you a heads up. Take care, Marv.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate the call. It's interesting, too, because sometimes I'm curious if a lot of this is a long game strategically. I mean, you look at the way the season is unfolding. Malik Neighbors, record-setting first 3 games start to his NFL career. But the league is taking notice, right? Remember when Daniel Jones started his first couple of games? He won his first 2 starts, and then, teams started to adjust to his play. You got this new toy in Malik Neighbors. You're putting him out there. He's doing work on Emerson, and it took really until the second half of the game that the Browns were like, okay, let me see if we could just put Ward on you and lock you down. I think the rest of the league is going to start saying, okay, this is how we need to shut down Neighbors. And as that adjustment comes, Dable's like, okay, I've got some tools in my toolbox you haven't fully seen yet. Could that be valid?
Well, it's to the point now where I think after 3 games, Neighbors is becoming that headache player that we talk about all the time.
Absolutely.
And the question was, when he came out of the box, how soon could he establish himself and command that kind of respect?
Yeah.
I think we're already seeing it. At different times in the game last week, Ward was on him, Newsome was on him, Emerson was on him. They also did some zone and some brackets. I mean, they tried a bunch of stuff on him. And although he didn't get 100 yards receiving, he caught 2 touchdown passes.
Right.
Which were incredibly important, obviously. And he's become, I'm going to say he's right on the verge. I don't know, because Dallas may just throw digs on him.
Well, and he and Diggs have had a nice little banter going on, friendly, competitive banter going on leading into the season. I know that the 2 of them are looking forward to matching up against each other, and even though we think that this is going to be a run-heavy matchup, they're going to throw the ball his way a couple of times.
A couple? Yeah. How about a couple dozen?
Give or take.
There won't be that many. Won't be that many. But he's becoming that player now where teams are going to have to start on Monday night game planning for him a week out of the box. He's right on the cusp of being that guy, I think.
Absolutely. Giants fans, take your fandom to the next level with a season ticket membership. Stay connected to the club all year round, not just on game days. Memberships are now available for the 2024 season. To learn more about all the exclusive member benefits, visit giants.com/tickets. Limited inventory is available. 201-939-4513 is the phone number as we head back to the phone lines. Roy in Charleston. Roy, you're on Big Blue Kickoff Live with P. Madelyn.
Hey, Madelyn, P. How are you guys doing today?
Hello.
Good. How are you?
Very good. Very optimistic for tomorrow's game. So I've got 2 comments and 1 question. So comment from Sunday's game, improvement. There was some really great improvement. Across all the defense. I was a little disappointed the way I felt like the defense kind of let up a little bit on the second half. I don't know. Did you get that sense, Paul?
Let up? I mean, look. They had 5 missed tackles in the game, and I think 3 or 4 of them came on the second Browns touchdown drive, which really kind of, made the game a real headache because it was now a 6-point difference. That was disappointing. But when you consider the Browns' last 3 possessions ended in a fumble recovery by Ojulari, a 4th down stop by Dexter Lawrence, and then a 4th down incompletion, although it was certainly a catchable ball, what more could you ask for from the defense? They did hold them on all 3 possessions with the game in the balance. I mean, had the kicker made the field goal with 3 minutes to go, the game is over.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. And that's the other thing I was going to say is for tomorrow's game, discipline. Got to be very disciplined in tackling. Like you said, I remember seeing some of those missed tackles. I thought we could have really put them behind even further had we not missed some tackles. And I think what was our penalties? When you watch the game live, you don't really get a chance to see everybody out there. It's really challenging trying to pinpoint exactly who's doing what and how well they're doing it. Do you know how many penalties we had last game?
Giants had 9 penalties for 68 yards.
Yeah, they're in the mid-20s now in terms of being flagged on the season, which puts them in the top 10 of the league, which is unfortunate. I'm not going to lie to you. You need to cut those down, no doubt.
Yep, and that's why I say discipline. I'd like to see some real good discipline, staying with their man, and really, I think my breakout player is I'd like to see my Ojulari be my breakout player. I think he did really well
last week, right?
He had a great game. I mean, with Brian Burns nursing that groin injury, Dable and Bowen rotated off the edges, so they had Aziz, Kayvon, and Burns kind of coming in different situations. Aziz got some great run in there and made the most of it.
Yeah, it was probably his most impactful game in a couple of years.
Absolutely.
Yep. And I think Daniel had some tremendous confidence last week, and there are still people who don't think Daniel is our guy, and I just go, well, he is now. It's only third game in the season, but again, I think like Sean said yesterday, he's coming off an injury. He's not going to rust off, and again, his confidence is I think is just going to continue to grow, and so I'd like to. I'm hoping that I'm hoping for a win. I'm going to call it. I'm going to call it 24-21 Giants.
Okay.
So
I like it. Thanks so much for the call, Roy.
One note of caution. He's talking about Jones coming off an injury, but as we have said on this program at least 5 trillion times, September football, because of how few snaps the regular season starters play, the first 3 games of the season, sometimes even 4, don't really tell you what you are as a team.
Right.
Now, the Giants seem to have started to find who they are in Cleveland this past week.
Right.
Some teams will find themselves a little quicker than others. Some, maybe after the first game, they can do it, especially if they have a lot of holdovers. The Giants had a lot of change. Sometimes it takes 2 weeks. Most teams, it takes 3. Some will even take 4. I think we're starting to understand now who and what the Giants are. If that's the case, that certainly makes them a much more competitive product moving forward than they were week 1 against Minnesota.
Absolutely. And I mean, to the point, though, about the injury, that is still valid. I mean, Daniel Jones coming off an ACL. I mean, you talked to Amani Toomer about this, and Amani's had 2 ACL repairs.
Sure did.
And the well-dressed Amani Toomer will say, he goes, coming back from it, I remember about a year after the surgery, I'm out there running and I'm thinking, my body's not reacting the same way it used to. I'm not hitting the same speeds that I used to get. And then all of a sudden it just comes back one day like a click. So Daniel Jones is going through that process right now, relearning, reacclimating to his body in a game situation, and has been doing that over the last 3 weeks, and the arrow is pointing up.
Yeah, I would not disagree with that at all, and I'm not discounting that. What I'm simply saying is you have to expand on that and look at this whole team as they try to find their sea legs after not playing very much in the preseason.
Right.
I think they found them in Cleveland last week. I really do. I like the way the offensive line is blocked for the run 2 weeks in a row. Mm-hmm. The pass protection has gotten adequate, if not pretty good, the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Those are wonderful signs. The defense has continued to get better over each of the first 3 games. The rush defense dramatically has improved. Mm-hmm. I mean, all of these things are now telling you the Giants are now starting to show you who they really are.
Right, exactly. And I mean, like Sean O'Hara calls it, sloppy September, right? Teams are all kind of coming into focus across the league. You see the teams that we had certain expectations of not living up to them. You see teams that you had low expectations of far superseding them. And, the identities of these teams are coming into focus as we head into October. It'll be a very different perception of the landscape of the league than we had when we looked at these schedules back this summer.
That's why, by the same token, Cleveland, although I'm not a Deshaun Watson guy at all in any way, shape, or form, they'll be a better team in a month than they were Sunday. The Cincinnati Bengals, who have struggled at the beginning, when the Giants play them a few weeks down the road, they're going to be a better team than they've shown the first couple of weeks.
The Jaguars, maybe. The Jaguars or the Ravens getting their first win. You see, or the Minnesota Vikings. People thought, they were going to struggle this season. They're one of the few undefeated teams at the start of the year. Again, on paper is one thing, but on the field, is a very different ball game. 201-939-4513 is the phone number as we head back to the phone lines. We got Maurice in Montclair. Maurice, you're on Big Blue Kickoff Live with Paul Dottino and Madelyn Burke.
Hey, good afternoon. Good afternoon.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Listen, I got something that I really want to express and kind of get some understanding on. And so, Paul, I'm going to really lean on you right now to help me understand something. And I'm going to tell you what it is. I'm 30, right? So I'm young. I'm not that old. But I come from the days of football to where if you're a cornerback, the ball's in the air, you get your head around. Paul, can you explain to me, are these guys being taught to play through the ball? Because hear me out. Banks could be in a perfect position. You see it around the league. I don't know if it's just a young boy thing. I don't know if it's because these kids nowadays, when the ball's in the air, they'll rather hand fight the guy or be all over him than get their head turned around. We talk about coaching all the time. If I was a coach, I would make them run 10 laps after a game. You cannot do that. It would drive me crazy. It drives me crazy when these corners don't get their head around. And I think it's a problem heading into Dallas because if Deonte Banks doesn't get coached up to use his hands better and to please get your dang head around, you could catch an interception if you just – some of the balls hit these guys right in the back of the head, and if they turn around, they have an interception. Paul, can you please explain to me what's happened throughout the NFL with this new style of play with these guys not getting their head around? And can the Giants please coach up these kids to get their head around?
Okay, number one, I appreciate your frustration because I share it. Okay, let me just go right on the record as saying the same thing. Deonte Banks has outstanding coverage skills. And if you go back and watch the game in Cleveland, there were a number of instances where he allowed a reception but had perfect position. I mean, literally like mustard on a hot dog. He's covering the guy. He's right there. The first touchdown to Amari Cooper. He is right there.
Yeah.
It is a great throw. It is a spectacular catch. The offense gets paid too. In reference to your question, there are two styles of ways to train a corner. One is to make sure they turn their head and watch for the ball. The other is to watch for the man and react to the man and then do the hand fighting and try to knock it away that way. Or literally hand fight with the receiver. If you can't knock it away, just hand fight with the receiver, because a lot of times the officials will let hand fighting go if it's the offensive and defensive player both doing it. They'll say, oh, no flag. Okay? So there are multiple ways, at least two, you could call it a third way if you'd like, to coach up a cornerback. The truth is, I have not had the conversation with Banks about how the Giants want him to play these passes. I have not had that conversation. I should. I meant to speak to him yesterday. Unfortunately, we did not cross paths in the locker room, but I meant to speak to him because I wanted to go up to him and say, hey, you had some tight coverage on some of those throws the other day. What was the intention? What were you playing? Because if he's playing the one technique as opposed to the other technique, you can understand it at least. Now, here's the thing. You may remember Will Allen played for the Giants some years ago. He was a number one draft pick out of Syracuse. In my 42 years of covering this team, he had the best cover skills of any corner who did not finish the play. Now, that's kind of a backhanded compliment.
Yeah.
Because he was on guys like flypaper. And then the ball would come down, and somehow, some way, he would not get the interception. And that's what hurts, okay? Because when you're there and you've spent that much time and effort in the route to cover the guy, and you got him blanketed, and then they still get the completion, it's like a gut punch. So I share your frustration. I do need to talk to Deonte this week, and I need to find out from him what is the philosophy that he's playing on some of those pass routes. Now, he has gotten beat on a slant and then a double move slant for 2 touchdowns so far this year. All right, we saw it in Minnesota with Jefferson, and we saw it the other day against Cooper. The first touchdown by Cooper the other day was simply just a terrific throw and a spectacular catch. I will not hold him accountable for that play. Although, if he was looking for the ball, he certainly could have had a chance at an interception, and a really good chance at an interception. So I need to get into his head and find out what he's thinking. But I have absolutely no loss of confidence in his coverage skills because he could stick with anybody.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I hope that helps.
Yeah, and it's a valid point, and especially I like how you described it, Paul, because there are several different strategies in approaching the coverage. And but yeah, you got to turn your head around, make a play on the ball.
Well, again, sometimes the coaches will shy away from using the turn their head around thing because they think that that's going to get the guy beat.
Right.
If he's not capable of timing it correctly and making the right decision of when to turn and look at the ball, he leaves the guy with too much room.
Or you end up in a penalty position because you don't turn your head around soon enough or whatnot. So lots to unpack there too, and it's an interesting thing. It's an interesting exercise on watching a game and saying, well, what is this person doing and what was this person asked to do? Because understanding what this person was asked to do and coached to do plays into whether or not they're executing at the level that you think that they should.
Or maybe they didn't follow the instructions either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's like if they were coached to do this and they do this, that ends up not working.
Right.
It's not necessarily that player falling short. It's that player, doing as they were coached to do.
I've known defensive back coaches who have done all of the philosophies.
Exactly.
So there is no right or wrong. A lot of it depends on what the coach thinks that the defensive back skills are suited for.
Right.
If they think he's going to be better off at the hand fighting or better off at knocking the ball away at the last minute after sticking with the receiver and anticipating his eyes and his movements, well, then that's what they're going to tell him to do. If they think he's going to be better off at turning his head and ball hawking, then that's what they're going to tell him to do.
Yeah. 201-939-4513. The phone lines are blowing up today, Dots. I wonder why. Oh, we got a game tomorrow. That's right. We got a game tomorrow. Giants, Cowboys, MetLife Stadium.
This is technically a football Saturday for us.
This is a football Saturday. It's Wednesday, my dudes. Let's head back to the phone lines. Cliff in New York. Cliff, you're on Big Blue Kickoff Live with Paul and Madelyn. How's it going?
Hey, guys. Great to hear from you today. It was also good to catch up with your post game on the website the next day when I couldn't do it live.
Thank you for
at
watching.
The archive. Oh yeah, great show with Amani and you two and the players and everything.
And Dodd's over there working hard in that locker room, getting all the sound.
In a suit, in a different suit than the last week.
The well-dressed Paul Dottino over here.
Yeah.
Game day attire, it's mandatory for the Dot Man.
All right. Well. I found that game very inspirational. Before I heard, everybody talking about resilience after the game, I was just loving it. I mean, the way they bounced back from the adversity 5, 6, 7, 8 times. I mean, it was just great. The thing about Hyatt, I'm wondering if besides the 3 receiver and 4 receiver sets. Dable went out of his way to praise Darius for his blocking, and I've long known that Darius can block downfield, and I'm wondering if part of the limitation, at least for some time, on Hyatt on the field is that he's kind of doesn't have the most robust frame, and maybe they don't even want him. Maybe they don't even want him to. Kind of Sterling Shepard used to, was his size, but had a different kind of frame, and he was a demon blocking downfield. So I just wonder if that might be a factor.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about that, Cliff. I don't think there's any question. That's why Darius Slayton is an experienced, accomplished, all-around wide receiver who can do a plethora of things on the field. And yes, that's why Hyatt is the 4th receiver on the depth chart, because when they go 4 wide, he's the guy. Mm-hmm. He is not, as of today, one of their top 3 all-around receivers. He's just not.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, okay. Well, I told Pearson I wanted to talk about, that I'm expecting the national coming out party for Malik. I'm expecting that's where the focus will be on the telecast. I'm expecting them to show Odell's catch 10 years ago against the
Oh,
Cowboys.
they will. Probably
in prime
15
time.
times.
Cliff, are you producing this game? I feel like you know exactly. You got the playbook down.
Cliff, I got something for you.
He's got it, though.
How about Neighbors? I don't care if he gets shut out. How about the Giants win the game? How about that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
but
are you okay with that?
Oh, absolutely. That's the whole point.
The best part of football season? Checking out the post-game stats. Which wideouts scored more than 2 touchdowns? Which QBs threw for less than 350 yards? Think you can pick who will do what before kickoff? Then play Pick 6 from DraftKings, an official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app, select between 2 and 6 players, and choose if they'll have more or less of a stat. It's that simple. And for all first-time Pick 6 players, check this out. New customers play $5 on your first pick set, get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Download the new DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code DK1. That's code DK1 for new customers to play $5 on your first pick set, get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Non-withdrawable. Pick 6 credits. Expire in 6 months. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
That's the whole point, you know. It's I've learned over the years, that I have to respect the marketing for the league and the team, and there's something called star stuff. It's a star league, and people that built the NFL to where it is today understood you needed star players, and our guy Frank Gifford was one of the very first of those, so I don't disrespect it, but I'm on board for the sustained success project that Joe Shane is building with Coach Dable and both of their staffs. That's what I'm on board for. Obviously we're overdue for a prime time win and a beating the Cowboys, but it might as well happen tomorrow night. It's all right with me. I'm looking for the team development all around. I do think that the O-line might have gotten a little bit past functional already, which is really terrific. And, that might open up some opportunities. But, watching that Ravens game with the Cowboys last Sunday, the Cowboys are still formidable, man. They are a rough bunch, and they are extremely talented. But I know our guys are up for preparing for anything they got to offer. So, I've been imagining, who's going to be on the field with the announcers after the game, for the heroes of the game. And my first idea was probably Malik and Daniel, but I think that a lot's going to happen on the defense. So I think we might see Dexter and Burns and Kayvon. It could be quite a crowd on the field for the post game interviews there. I mean, I don't want to get.
Yeah, it's like our first preseason game when I had the 3 of those guys on the broadcast.
That's right.
They're a good little bunch. They travel in a pack.
The more the merrier, Cliff. They got to win the game first. Although I will tell you this Dallas team, and we told you this all summer, the gap had somewhat narrowed between the Giants and the Cowboys and the Eagles. And the Cowboys are proving that right now. Look at this team. They are not the same team offensively, especially with the lack of a running game. And they are not the same team defensively because they can't stop the run. Did you know already Micah Parsons has 4 missed tackles in the first 3 weeks of the season? In the last 2 years combined, he's only had 8 total. What does that tell you?
I didn't know he was involved in that.
Micah Parsons is not playing up to speed right now. That whole defense is not playing up to speed right now.
Well, I knew about the rest of the defense, but that's great to hear he's not doing so hot. I didn't know that because I thought he might. I thought Malik might be introduced to him a little bit. Might be part of their strategy. See if they can bully him or something. Lots of luck with that. I don't think they will. I don't think they could. But I'm wondering if the weakness against the rush on their part might get us to see a little bit more from maybe Eric Gray and Tyrone Tracy, maybe, with Singletary. Do you think they're ready to be on the field more?
We saw a lot of work from Tyrone Tracy last week as well. And, I definitely think that they are not opposed to putting him in for spells there.
Yeah, they're part of the deal. Now, unfortunately, Gray had a fumble on the kickoff last week.
But they let him right back out there for the next,
They did. But ball security is an issue, and Brian Dable mentioned it this week.
Yeah,
got to stop putting the ball on the ground.
As with
Singletary's had a couple in 3 games now. That's not too swift either. Look, there are 2 hidden things here that we didn't even talk about at the top. And Cliff, if you'll bear with me a second, I'm going to mention them really, really fast. Number 1 is turnover ratio. The Giants cannot afford to squander opportunities by turning the ball over. That's not the way you beat a team that has had your number for how many years? Especially the fact that Dallas can score quickly. When you get scoring opportunities, you got to make them pay for it, and you got to take advantage of those chances, not put the ball on the ground and give it up. That's number 1 in terms of the 2 hidden agendas. The second one is special teams, okay? The Giants' special teams have to be at their best because Aubrey has got a robotic leg. He kicked a 66-yard field goal in the preseason, okay? He had a 65-yarder last week. This guy will not miss. All they got to do is get to the 50-yard line, and they can trot him out there to hit a 3-pointer, all right? They've got a terrific return game. Turpin, in particular, has already taken back a punt return for a touchdown this year. So they've got deadly special teams in terms of the kicking game and in terms of the return game. Do not let Dallas whip your butt on special teams. That could change the entire complexion of the game and throw it in the toilet for the Giants. You got to play even with Dallas on specials because you can beat them on offense and defense, but you can't let them turn the game on special teams.
I can't believe still that they executed that onside kick now that you have to call for it.
Amazing.
Well, it's a good time to remember special teams because as much as we thought at the time that there was a lot of bad luck in what happened in that first game, it was a special teams blunder that made the whole thing happen.
Yeah, last year, sure.
Yeah.
And John, by the way, John Fossil, we all know him. Remember Jim's son, one of the great special teams coaches in this league. You can never sleep on him. He's always got his guys ready to go, playing at the top of their game, and then he pulls out a surprise or 2 that winds up kicking you in the butt. I'm telling you, don't sleep on special teams as an X factor in this game.
Absolutely, man. I'm sure they have some kind of an idea to try to get something going quick in that department, especially. I'm sure they will, and maybe Coach Gobriel is all set for that because there was a flaw in the freaking lineup on that blocked field goal that night, or a weakness that maybe it was a double weakness. We had lost all the special teams talent we had the summer before. Joe Shane couldn't do everything at the same time, and we were lacking there. And I hope we're stronger, both coaching and talent-wise on specials than we were the last time we saw them in the stadium.
Love it. Thanks so much for the call, Cliff. Always appreciate it. Hey, Giants fans, Giants official connected TV streaming app Giants TV brings original video content and game highlights on demand and direct to Big Blue fans. Giants TV is free on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire TV and on the Giants mobile app. And it's where you can watch our Giants postgame show like Cliff did the day after, or any of other programs that you've got in the Giants program family of programs, I don't know. It makes sense if you don't think about it. 201-939-4513 is the phone number. As we head back to the phone lines, Ryan in Illinois. Ryan, you're on Big Blue Kickoff Live. How's it going?
Hey, Madelyn. Hey, Paul. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. I want to first defend Deontay Banks, and then I've got a couple points about the team. So Deontay had to go one-on-one quite a bit in the game because of all the blitz packages.
Yes.
I just want to remind everybody that, it puts them a little bit more on an island, and it is tougher. So maybe part of the idea was, hey, give up the 30-yarder. We don't want it. But if he goes 60 yards, then we're really screwed. So that could have been part of the game plan.
Let me just add, and I'll let you finish. Let me just say this. Banks is really good at shadow coverage, man-to-man press, no question about that. He can stay with anybody. But he is very good at closing on a receiver and not giving up yak yardage. He's really good at that. He's proven that time and time again. He's very physical. So he has so many great skills that you love to have in a number one corner. And I agree with you. I think a lot of people have kind of hammered him some. So by all means, you're welcome to defend him, because I will defend him as well. I think he's a hell of a player.
I agree. And also losing Drew Phillips early on, who was really, really good the first 3 games of the season.
Not just
And
really good, the highest graded rookie in the NFL on defense, according to PFF.
Yeah, losing him kind of could have maybe shifted the game plan a little bit to try to get the ball out faster, so that those slot receivers couldn't just have a field day. And Art? I don't want to throw him under the bus, but he's certainly not a household name. I think it's Art Green.
Yeah, he actually got in on defense last week because they were so thin.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other point, I'm not going to lie, in this Defensive Player of the Year crusade for Dexter Lawrence, I really wanted him to get that sack on the throwaway.
The intentional grounding.
I mean, he earned that. He earned the hell out of that, and he didn't, unfortunately didn't get it.
The coaches around the league notice. Trust me.
Yeah. Yeah. And Dexter, we've seen a lot of that sexy Dexy sack dance, and it's coming on prime time, I'm sure.
He's off to a great start. He really is. And
one other point, if I may. Who do you think is the most pivotal player to step up when Malik inevitably gets, double, even triple covered? Who do you think needs to step up into that role to be successful?
Well, a lot depends on the style that they're going to play of offense that day. If they're going to go for a lot of short stuff and rely on Yak, Wan'Dale Robinson becomes a very, very big part of the passing game. If they still think they want to go deep, you're now talking about Slayton or potentially Hyatt if they're not going to lean a lot on the run and they use a bunch of 4 wides. See, I still think that Hyatt's going to make a bunch of big plays during the course of this season, so do not sleep on him.
Right.
There are going to be games where they want to get him in a lot as the 4th receiver, and they will hit him downfield. It's going to happen at some point. There's no doubt in my mind.
And if the coverage is doubling Malik, like you said, it could be a 4-receiver set. It could be shifting attention to the run game or getting Devin Singletary on a wheel route or something like that. There's a lot of options, and we've seen so far in the first 3 weeks of this season that successful formula for this Giants team is, Singletary and Neighbors are the 2 top go-to so far.
And Singletary is going to be very important tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Again, I'm sorry, but I think they got to try to pound the ball. This is a bully ball game.
Yeah. It's like vintage NFC, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, or, more than that maybe.
Rubber pellets.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I could see Wan'Dale getting some rushes out of the backfield for a really maybe high yards per carry rate.
Here's what's very interesting. I'm glad you mentioned that because I was doing some research on this, and Overshawn, who is one of the backup linebackers who plays a lot for the Cowboys, he's allowed 10 completions on 11 targets this year for 89 yards. So clearly teams have decided to attack him with either tight ends or running backs out of the backfield in that short range right behind the first line of the defense. He has been beaten time and time again on pass plays. So Wan'Dale Robinson is one of those guys who can take advantage of that, and quite frankly, so is Singletary or Tracy.
Absolutely. Got some options there with that, and we'll see how it evolves as the Giants continue to adjust to the adjustments that defenses make, especially as Malik Neighbors continues to shine. I mentioned this. The Giants, not just Drew Phillips, Malik Neighbors and Drew Phillips are the 2 highest graded rookies so far this season. Malik Neighbors, the highest graded rookie on offense, according to PFF, and Drew Phillips, the highest graded rookie on defense, according to PFF. So the kids are all right. This draft class coming, I'm doing all right, looking pretty good so far. Hopefully Drew Phillips can be healthy. Of course, again, he left the game on Sunday with a calf injury. Unclear what his status will be for Thursday night on a short week.
I won't go to those numbers, but what I will say is the naked eye tells you these guys are impactful players.
Oh, yeah.
And Brian Dable himself said the other day, I believe it was yesterday, that they already have a stat in-house that the Giants, by percentage of snaps, have had the most rookie snaps of any team in the NFL this year. Again, by percentage of snaps. I mean...
Well, because they're such a young team also. They're one of the youngest teams in the league, especially in terms of starters. Yeah.
And Johnson. And Tracy. Phillips. Neighbors. I mean...
Even Muasau.
Muasau.
Yeah, Darius Muasau.
I mean... The Giants, look.
Credit to this Giants.
Well, they deserve the snaps.
Front office of drafting a class of rookies that
Yes.
is ready to play and make an impact on these games.
Well, how many times in the offseason did we talk about, your second, third-year players have to be the core of your team. They've got to develop and they've got to step up. But if your rookie class can give you an immediate contribution from more than 3 guys,
right.
Usually it's 2. If you get 2, it's like pretty good. If you get 3, you're really happy. You get more than 3 guys from your rookie class who give you major contributions. Now, that's a big-time plus.
Absolutely, absolutely. 201-939-4513 as we wrap up our show with our final caller, Lou in Virginia. Lou, you're on Big Blue Kickoff Live. How's it going?
That's good. It's going great. Paulie, I know you got something you need to talk about. Please don't say that the Cowboys are not good because it's going to come back to bite us like it always does.
Lou gets it.
You have to hold off saying it. I know you can think it all you want, but whenever you say it, it always works out the opposite for us.
I know, Lou.
That way,
I'm over here touching wood every time he says it.
You know the problem, Lou?
You got to stop doing
it, man. You're right.
Stop doing
It's like the whammy. It's like the whammy.
It is.
And I get it. Here's the problem.
The
The problem is the tape doesn't lie.
It doesn't, but it lies against us. Because they're gonna play their best game against us because you said that.
There you go, and that's the problem. And you know what?
If it happens again, I'm gonna have to call you and ask you not to do it again.
My pop asked me.
Do whatever you can to fight that feeling.
My pop asked me yesterday. He goes, "What do you think about the chances against Dallas on Thursday?" And I said, "Dad," he goes, "Wait a minute. Maybe I don't want you to tell me."
Yeah.
I said, I'll just tell you to go look at the Dallas tape, and that'll tell you everything you need to know.
Just don't say anything.
Yeah.
Just leave it to Madelyn to finish the show, and just don't ruin it for us. We had a great week. I want it to continue.
I'm with you,
fight
man.
the feeling, Paulie. Fight it.
I know.
All right,
I know.
You guys have a great rest of your afternoon.
Thanks so much for the call, Lou. I know Paul's gonna be biting. It's okay. Only 1.5 more days. Just biting your tongue, and after that game is final, if it goes as you think it will, I told you so all you want. But I get it. We will respect the opponent. The Dallas Cowboys, whatever their start to the season has been, they are a formidable opponent. Even though they had some, rough moments on Sunday, they nearly mounted a comeback.
Oh, the Cowboys, they're Super Bowl contenders.
There we
they're
go.
finally
See?
going to win a slew of playoff games this year.
Look at
they're
this,
going
Lou.
all the way to the Lombardi Trophy.
Look at this, Lou. He's coachable.
Oh, Jerry Jones is finally
coachable.
going to get one. Oh, boy.
I mean, in a week in which we've seen Jerry Jones say, it's possible it's my fault this team is off to a sloppy start. Anything is possible this week. Anything is possible.
It's funny, Madelyn, but over the years, and especially over this downtime that the Giants have had in the better part of the last decade, there are too many times when I've seen something on tape and then somehow on that game day, it does not materialize that way. It defies all logic. The Giants don't do nearly what they're supposed to do, and the other team decides they're going to play above their heads, and it works out exactly the opposite of the way everything was supposed to. In other words, 2 + 2 winds up equaling 5 on game day.
Yeah.
It happens so often. But, folks, maybe, just maybe this time, things will go according to the tape.
Just knocking on the wood right here to use the word that Carl Banks uses quite frequently, execution. If the Giants can execute and do what they want to do and game plan for this team, it'll be a nice Thursday night at MetLife Stadium. The weather's supposed to be decent around game time. If you're coming to the game, maybe bring a just-in-case raincoat. But, I don't think so. I think it'll be a nice evening. Giants-Cowboys, MetLife Stadium, Thursday night football, primetime lights. We'll love to see it. Paul Dottino and I will be there.
Oh, yeah.
And, excited to head into the game. All right, thanks for listening to today's episode of Big Blue Kickoff Live, brought to you by Cadillac, part of the Giants podcast platforms everywhere, and giants.com/podcast. For Paul Dottino, I'm Madelyn Burke. We'll see you next time.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
What's good? Justin Jefferson here. Football is a lot of explosion, a lot of energy and attitude.
With these open earbuds,
to have good sound and to be so light on your ear, it's like a dream.
For more, check out Bose.com.